Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, some sad news as this is a Ford Falcon. In fact, the last ever Ford vehicle to be built inside of the country of Australia. It crossed the back half of the assembly line on October 7th of 2016. This particular plant is the Broadmeadow Ford plant in Australia that actually had been in existence since August 20th of 1959. Ford has actually been building vehicles inside of the country for near 100 years, but basically because the cost is so great to have these vehicles shipped to wherever they need to be, it means that the end of this production line and the end of Ford actually building cars inside of Australia, which is sad indeed. General Motors and Toyota are the other manufacturers that are building inside of the country, and they're both going to pull the plug on their plants coming up in the year of 2017. Ford is not the only place where they're pulling the plug on this, because the Japanese manufacturing plant and also the Indonesian plants are going to be closing in the next several months. Next up on the list, Volkswagen is in the news, maybe for a little bit better news, albeit that this was one of the concept machines shown off several months ago, but the long-rumored mid-level SUV that's going to be coming out very soon for Volkswagen has been talked about as getting more of an Americanized name. In fact, the group that's going to name the machine is actually done right here in America. You always think of Volkswagen as having some quirky names. You'd think of their SUV lineup being the Touareg and the Tiguan, that actually take a fair amount of practice to actually learn how to say properly. That being said, I always enjoyed the names, albeit they're weird, but they're also very, very fun to say. Now, the rumor mill, at least according to the folks over at Automotive News in Germany, is claiming that this vehicle is going to be called the Atlas. Now, we'll have to wait and see exactly what this vehicle is going to look like, as this is basically a concept machine that was shown off months ago. What this new mid-level machine is going to look like and whether or not it will actually be called Atlas has yet to be said by Volkswagen itself. So we'll wait and see what comes of this. Hopefully we'll know something in the next several months. Next up on the list, Subaru is in the news. They got a new special edition machine up for offer. This is the brand new WRX STI S4 TS. Now, this is a vehicle that's actually built a little bit of homage to their race-winning victories at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. This vehicle comes with a 2.5-liter turbocharged flat 4, making 305 horsepower and 290 pounds-feet of torque. Oddly enough, it's shifted exclusively through a CVT transmission. Not the world's greatest performance transmission, but it will get this vehicle up and moving quite nicely. Subaru has yet to say how many they're going to build of this. They're just talking about a limited production run, which basically means you can order one right now all the way up till March 12th of 2017. So I'm assuming they're going to sell every one that they'll actually be able to sell. Now, there's a couple of sad things. This vehicle's only available in Japan only, which is kind of sad. Would love to see this in other parts of the world. And you'll need, if you live there in Japan, right around 5 million yen to own this machine, which is right around 50,000 US dollars equivalency. So we'll wait and see just how many they're going to build over these over the next several months. Next up on the list, well, the Mustang GT350 is out and about. In fact, the local dealership in the town that I work in actually has a pair of these sitting on the showroom floor. Well, now it's not going to be an exclusive, at least rumored exclusive, manual transmission only automobile, if you believe what's being said on MustangG6.com and also RoadandTrack.com. They're both reporting that this vehicle will get a dual clutch transmission heading into the next model year. Now, albeit I'm a big fan of manual transmissions, especially for city and out-of-town driving, but if you want to use this for real track use, I think a dual-clutch transmission would be way better. Not to mention, the vehicle's going to do a much quicker sprint 260, so we'll wait and see if this actually becomes official from the folks over Ford Motor Company. We may hear an announcement as soon as the Detroit Motor Show. Last up on the list, more sad news, is Brock Yates, longtime author and columnist and magazine writer, longtime editor-at-large for Car and Driver magazine. He's an author, he's a filmmaker, he's a film writer. The man actually succumbed to Alzheimer's after a 12-year battle, sadly, over the past couple of days. Now, if you don't know who Brock Yates is, chances are you've probably crossed paths with all those different outlets that he was actually writing for over the past several years, including his piece of resistance, at least in my mind, which was his road rally that actually ran from coast to coast here in the United States, called the Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash. Now, this was actually a little tip of the hat to a fellow by the name of Irwin G. Baker, known as Cannonball, who actually raced the Indianapolis 500 and also raced his motorcycle from one end of the country to the other in just 11 days, which sounds not too very impressive. 11 days on a motorcycle across country in the United States, but he actually did this feat in 1914, yes, over 100 years ago. Mr. Yates actually put on this little road rally. They ran about 4 or 5 of these events back in the 70s, including a win in class for Mr. Brock Yates. He was actually racing with Dan Gurney in a Ferrari Daytona. They made the trip of 2,876 miles in just 35 hours and 45 minutes at an average speed of 82 miles an hour. The filmmaker side of him actually helped make the film, wrote the film, Cannonball Run, which actually is what this series basically is known as today. He actually made the last ever event trying to get stories for the film, and they actually raced in an orange ambulance, they being Brock Yates and legendary filmmaker Hal Needham, also his wife and an unnamed doctor that made the trip across the country. That orange ambulance is the exact same one that Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise actually drove in the first film, The Cannonball Run. So, very historic fellow. He was a legend in his own time, and definitely someone I would have loved to have met in my lifetime. Sadly, he passed away at the age of 82. Hopefully I will get to see him on the other side. Our prayers are with the family and friends of Mr. Yates. Obviously, they've been suffering over this past 12 years with this battle with Alzheimer's. So, sad to see him go, but hopefully we'll get to see him on the other side. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.